Welcome to the Doctor's Kitchen. This is the recipe for the podcast that I did with Dr. Heather McKee, who is a behavioral psychologist. She's been practicing for 10 years. Her specialty is behavior change for weight loss, and it's a fascinating conversation. And for her, I made this delicious, spicy chickpea spinach salad with za'atar, lemon, sumac. It's absolutely delicious. She loved it, and I'm sure you will too. I'm going to be cooking for you a very simple dish, a Middle Eastern chickpea salad.
Okay.
It's going to be finely chopped spinach, some parsley. You don't have any issues with parsley? You right with parsley?
I don't love it.
You don't love it?
I don't love it.
Okay, fine. So I'm going to go easy on the parsley, and then I'm going to go mint. Are you all right with mint?
Big fan.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
We'll go heavy on the mint, easy on the parsley. Spinach is going to be sort of the main green we're going to be using anyway, so it's going to mellow all those other things. But we're going to go with za'atar, sumac, some oregano, some pre-cooked chickpeas here that's just come from a can that I've drained, some lemons to give it some zing, plenty of olive oil, seasoning, and then bring it all together. So tell us about your background and stuff, and what kind of work you're doing.
So my background isn't psychology, it's actually sports science.
Okay.
So my first...
I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
All right.
I was actually more interested in the health side really than the sports side, but kind of back in the day.
Back in the day, yeah.
It's interesting because like sport was, you know, like nowadays fitness is a sport.
Yes.
Like back then it was just sport.
Yeah.
You know, or nothing.
Yeah,
like it wasn't really a thing, like this makes me sound ancient, but like it wasn't a big thing to go to the gym like it is now. It wasn't a cultural kind of thing.
I regard myself as a sporty person, but actually the only sport I do is when I go bouldering or I play the occasional game of tennis, but really I'm just going to the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's it's a valid sport.
I mean, yeah,
like,
yeah.
If darts can be a sport,
you know. That is true. That is really true.
Someone went on to do their PhD in that, and that work got picked up by Mind then.
Oh, really?
We were trying to support people with their diet and exercise. A lot of them were staff, some of them were patients. And it really frustrated me because, you know, we had like nutritionists, dietitians, and all the most amazing, like best support. And yet like people were just not making things stick.
Really?
So one day I was like, right, I'm going to sit down with people and find out like what's stopping them. They've got all these tools. So then I went to Loughborough University.
Okay.
And
Big sporting university.
Yeah. And they've got a great exercise psychology focus. So I did kind of mainly kind of health promotion, exercise psychology. Fast forward, got accepted to a PhD in the University of Birmingham, and you know that was on the psychology of weight loss. So it's quite interesting because this is one thing I saw. You know, a lot of people got really fired up about their health behaviours when it came to losing weight. The only way that people really knew how to lose weight was through dieting, and yet like, you know, all the evidence shows that dieting is the most ineffective way to lose weight. At least 2/3 of dieters regain any of the weight they lost and more. And actually, even the studies that they looked at were really biased towards the weight loss effect.
Right.
And the problem is, it's people will lose weight in short term. You know, we know that from the evidence base, but long term they'll definitely regain, and the more diets you add in, the more likely that they're going to regain more than their original weight. Right.
Essentially, like your body goes into like a resilience mode where, you know, it defends its weight set point, and it's a phenomenon that's quite well recognised.
But the reason I got into it is because they were like, well, actually, we're going to look at how you lose weight without dieting. So how we're going to look at the psychology behind weight loss, and actually how do we support people to achieve their goals and stay on track long term. So like my passion is maintenance. Like I want to know, you know, how do we get someone engaged and keep them engaged long term. The studies that we did originally, we looked at kind of goals. So we looked at goal setting. We looked at what's quite interesting about this concept of goal dilution. So you know, New Year's comes around and you're like, right, I'm going to save money, I'm going to be nice to my spouse, I'm going to exercise, I'm never going to eat sugar again, I might as well cut out coffee as well, you know, I'm going to be this whole new person. And like the more goals you add in, the more you dilute your effectiveness long term. And so we were like looking at what are those factors that allow someone to manage, you know, a goal alongside so many other goals. And it's very, very difficult to do. And actually focusing on one means that you're going to be a lot more effective. You know, then we went on to look at, well, what are the factors that make someone successful? A lot of it was because they didn't actually focus on weight as the outcome.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like that goes back to the whole lifestyle to be lived. And there's quite interesting, you know, in psychology we talk a lot about intrinsic, extrinsic goals. So like extrinsic goals are, you know, lose a certain amount of weight, run a certain time in a marathon, you know, lift a certain amount of kilograms in the gym. Yes, we know that those are motivating, but only in the short term. So those goals that are for personal significance or personal reasons, and it's lovely, like intrinsic, I think in Latin, translates into goods for the soul.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a beautiful... I had no idea that was the derivation.
They're those things that nourish you from within.
Yeah.
And so people that were more intrinsically motivated, they do something because it's got a personal significance to them. They do it because it's kind of part of who they are. It's their belief system. It's, you know, like, why do something that's inconsistent with who you want to represent in the world?
Yeah.
And those are the people that tend to be more successful because it, you know, when they get into the trenches and things start to go wrong, they can kind of call on that, you know, valued goal that's part of who they are, rather than, you know, looking externally for getting that validation. They can actually turn in internally. One of the factors that kind of offset people on more on a day-to-day basis was giving into temptation. And so we created this app where we looked at instances of kind of resistance to temptation, so non-lapses and lapse when people gave into temptation. You know, a lot of people like do really well all week, eat really, you know, well, and then it gets Thursday and, you know, they've missed lunch and they see a Snickers bar and they eat it, and then they think, oh, the whole thing's ruined, I might as well just get Deliveroo for the weekend, I'll start again on Monday. Whereas the maintainers didn't have that attitude. They kind of saw it as a bend in the road, but not the end of the road, you know. And it's quite interesting because we found that people were most tempted at certain times of the day. So it was like 3:30 and 8:30.
8:30 in the evening?
Yeah.
Interesting, okay.
And there was a number of different factors. It was like, were there influences in your environment? Was it boredom? You know, was it fatigue? Was it stress? And then at 8:30, actually, the temptations that people most likely gave into were alcohol temptations. I think that's interesting from an environmental point of view as well. It's like, can you look at your habits throughout the day? Because we think that, you know, when we give into temptation that it's in isolation.
Yes.
But ultimately, it tends to be the same patterns that repeat. And one thing I always say to people is, why not keep a temptations diary, like just for a week? Look at when you're most tempted, look at the factors why. And for a lot of people, it was just the same things. It was boredom. Really? Yeah, or, you know, like wanting to procrastinate at work or something like that. And actually, for some people, it was stress. And food became, you know, a distractor from that stress.
That's fascinating, and I can't wait to go into a little bit more detail about, you know, managing multiple goals, and that was another part of your research thing, like, and how you actually increase the successes of attaining those. So I'm going to tell you about this food. Right? So, all I've done, sliced up some spinach, a little bit of parsley, not too much, some mint, and then the dressing is za'atar, which is a beautiful mixture of like cumin, sesame, marjoram, a little bit more oregano because I think it needs a little bit more dried oregano, some sumac, which is a dried part of the rus plant, and half a teaspoon of red chili because I don't want your nose to be streaming. You can be genuine with your...
Okay, my critical feedback.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. I love the lemon.
Oh, good, good. Is this typically what you eat? Like, what's a typical sort of...
Yeah, za'atar every day.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a big fan of legumes. Definitely.
Yeah.
Like, actually, last night I made one of my favourite salads. It was like pui lentils, mackerel, oranges, and feta.
Oh,
but
great flavour combinations.
Yeah,
amazing.
but I don't spice it that much, and that's where I'm missing out on, I think.
I tell you what, like pui lentil, it goes so well with so many different spices because otherwise it's quite bland on its own. I love using za'atar and daka, Egyptian daka is great, but pui lentils go really well with like a slight hint of chili and cumin. I think it goes really well. So try that out.
I will. I'll be adding it in. Thank you.
And if you want to listen to the rest of our conversation, head over to iTunes or whatever your favourite podcast player is, and you can listen to the rest of our interesting chat. Thank you so much for watching this video. There's so many others for you to enjoy right here. Check out thedoctorskitchen.com, sign up to the newsletter where I give science-based recipes every single week. There's a podcast, there's 2 books, there's loads more content on social media, doctors_kitchen, and I hope to see you there.